What is Stoicism? Let's take the first step and go back 2,300 years to ancient Greece. A rich merchant named Zenon from Cyprus was sailing one day with his ship and the wealth on board, but that day is a stormy one, and Zenon's ship sinks into the sea. Zenon buries all his wealth at the bottom of the sea and loses it. After this unfortunate event, Zenon is now a poor man and begins to think and research about life. After talking to the philosophers around him and reading many books, Zenon decides to develop his own philosophical doctrine. In the Agora, Zenon listens to the ideas of the followers of Socrates and Plato, but he cannot find the satisfaction he is looking for. Finally, in the tranquility of the Stoa Poikile, he begins to develop his own philosophical views. The Stoa Poikile was a portico in ancient Athens. This is how Stoicism was born, and the source of its name is this famous and ancient portico in Athens. As Zenon spread this doctrine around him, Stoicism developed and grew like an avalanche, not only confined to ancient Greece, but also reaching ancient Rome. Philosophers such as Epictetus, Seneca, and the Emperor Marcus Aurelius also showed great interest in this philosophy. You are now ready to travel to the basic principles of Stoicism. The most fundamental principle of Stoicism is undoubtedly man should live in harmony with nature. The term nature here does not only mean nature, but we can think of it in a universal sense. We are talking about a harmony that covers the whole cosmos. Stoics believe that God is everywhere in nature. In the Stoic philosophers' thoughts about nature, the expressions self-sufficient, ordering everything in the universe, creative spirit, are used. And from these expressions we can understand that nature corresponds to the concept of God. Therefore, let us continue by making living in harmony with nature the basis of this philosophy, and take this basis as the starting point. If we now focus on human beings and think about the position of human beings in the universe, we know that the only thing that distinguishes us from other living beings is intelligence. This reason is an ability given to us by nature, and the use of this reason is what nature expects of us. So the basis of Stoicism is to live in accordance with nature, but also to live in accordance with reason. For Stoics, living in accordance with nature and reason is possible with concepts such as creative, intelligent, good, logical, virtuous. For a Stoic, living in accordance with reason is the basis of a virtuous life. So what is this concept of virtue? How would you define virtue? The Stoics explained the definition of virtue with 4 points. First, wisdom. It is the ability to distinguish between right and wrong. Second, courage. It is the ability to resist fear and defend what is right. Third, freedom. The ability to live under the guidance of reason without being influenced by external factors. Fourth, justice. The ability to give everyone the value they deserve. If you fulfill all 4, you are a virtuous person, according to the Stoics. According to the Stoics, what is good is virtuous. The bad is not virtuous. For any concept outside of these, they use the definition of indifferent, because these concepts should be evaluated according to the conditions, and then a decision can be made. The definition of indifferent is also very important in Stoicism. For the Stoics, to be indifferent means to show indifference or insensitivity to things beyond our control. This does not mean not reacting emotionally or not caring, but rather not allowing these things to prevent us from living a virtuous and happy life. It does not mean living in a state of toxic positivity in today's terms. On the contrary, Stoicism says that we should always take pessimistic thinking into account. Frequently consider how quickly everything disappears, both the things that are and the things that will be. You have heard a saying of the great emperor Marcus Aurelius: if you think about it and consider all the negative possibilities, will you be able to continue your virtuous life even if you lose, if you suffer, if you are exposed to evil? The Stoics try to reach this level by accepting that bad things can happen to them. In the same way, the famous philosopher Seneca advises those who tell him their troubles to think of the worst possible scenario that could happen to them, and tries to explain to them that they can actually continue in that scenario. In this way, the mind prepares itself for the worst and develops a pre-tolerance for whatever may happen to it. Another important Stoic principle is control. Control in Stoicism includes two basic concepts. First one is control over our thoughts, actions, and decisions. Stoics believe that we are the masters of our own destiny and have the ability to control the course of our lives. This is the ability to live guided by our reason, uninfluenced by external factors. And the second one, indifference to that which we cannot control. The Stoics argue that the universe is divided into two categories: things we can control and things we cannot control. The things we cannot control include external factors, the actions of other people, and natural phenomena. According to the Stoics, instead of worrying or fretting about what we cannot control, we should focus on what we can control. So how do we make this distinction? According to Epictetus, a person who can make this distinction is invincible, because he does not worry about anything that is outside his sphere of choice. In more simple words, it is unnecessary to worry about something we cannot control because there is nothing we can do about it. At the same time, it is extremely unnecessary to worry about something we can control, because if we concentrate on controlling the situation instead of worrying, we can achieve our goal. In Stoic philosophy, negative emotions are considered undesirable and should be avoided as much as possible. These are emotions such as fear, jealousy, and especially hatred. According to the Stoics, negative emotions cover the mind. We know that these emotions are already in human nature, and the Stoics do not aim to reject or destroy these emotions. They only advise you to deal with them while you are in control of them. Emotions come to people instantly with a reflex. For example, in the early days, man managed to survive thanks to his fear. But today, think of the negative impact on life of a person who is afraid even when there is no danger, in modern terms, anxiety. So the Stoics sought to control these excessive emotions because the mind works properly when it is free from emotional excesses. So how does Stoicism approach positive emotions like love, affection, compassion? The Stoics recommend experiencing these emotions up to a certain level, but again, if they are excessive, they advise moving away from that emotion with a Stoic thought, because even if the emotion is positive, if it goes beyond a certain level, it will again prevent the mind from working properly. What about fate? A concept that we cannot control. In Stoicism, fate means a predetermined universal order governed by logos, reason. Stoics hold a deterministic view that everything in the universe is connected and that every event has a cause. According to this view, everything has a predetermined destiny, and it is impossible to resist this destiny. However, Stoics do not believe that fate completely eliminates free will. According to the Stoics, people are responsible for their own thoughts, actions, and choices. Although our destiny is predetermined, we always have the freedom to choose how to live that destiny. If, when you are on a voyage, the ship is driven out of its course, do you blame the captain? No, for you know that he must use the sails and the rudder as the wind permits. So now, too, remember that you are on a voyage, and that the voyager is determined by the gods. What then remains for you? To do what is in your power, and to leave the rest to the gods. We wanted to end the video with Epictetus's famous discourse on ships. What do you think of Stoicism? Let's discuss it in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe.